your questions. Any of you want to be a writer someday? Few hands? I see a few hands. Okay, I'm going to do a super quick PowerPoint. I know how much you guys love PowerPoint, right? Yes. Okay, hold on. I got to get my clicker. I made this PowerPoint myself because when you become an author, that's what they make you do. I know you didn't even know that, but guess what? That's what happens. Okay, let's do it really quick so we can move on to your questions. And then I understand that at the end of this, there might be a surprise? I don't know. We'll see. Hold on. Okay, really quick. These right here are all the books that I have written that have gotten published. Can you see them? There's so many, right? But wait. These are all the books that I've written that haven't been published yet. Can you see them? They're just handwritten, just sitting there under my desk. Does anybody here has written books? And they're just sitting around. Oh my gosh, a lot of you. This is awesome. So we have some aspiring writers here. Okay, we're going to move on. Hold on. This is how old I was when I wrote my first book. I was 7 years old. It did not get published. It was a book called Benny the Puppy. It was about a puppy whose puppy family was brutally killed in a freak prairie fire. You guys, I was dark. I wrote some dark stuff. And I think when you see this photo, you'll see why. This is my family. Can you see it? Can you see that my mom used to force me to wear matching sweaters with her? Right? When your mom kind of forces you to wear matching clothes with her, maybe you start thinking of stuff like, I don't know, a puppy whose entire family is taken away in a freak prairie fire. That's what you use your imagination for. You take out your anger that you can't express to your family. When your mom's making you wear matching clothes. So my dad, I know that he looks like that maybe he's in the mafia, right? Now he's not. He was a professor of math. Guess what subject I did horribly in? Yes, you guys are so good. I did horribly in math. It was terrible. There was so much crying in my house every night at homework time. My dad would be like, how are you even my child? You're really good at making up stories about puppies that burn up in fires, but you can't even do algebra. But we spent so much time where? Yes, because the library was a great escape to get away from the crying and the puppies that were burning up. I loved the library, and that's where I would go. I would get so many books. I would read everything I could get my hands on about princesses and women who are at power and who didn't have to deal with their dad being super mad at them all the time. My favorite princess was Princess Leia from Star Wars. Does anyone here even know who that is? Oh my God, you guys are so much better than Cleveland. I'm sorry, should I not have said that? Cleveland's okay, but hardly any of them knew who Princess Leia was. You guys seem to be more with it. I loved Princess Leia. And so you know what I would do? I would write stories about Princess Leia and how she was going to come to my town and rescue me and take me away to help her fight the Rebel Alliance. And it turns out that's called something called fan fiction. Do any of you know what fan fiction is? Wow, a lot of you. So I started writing fan fiction, which is when you write about your favorite story and you keep writing more stories. Oh, now it's working again. You keep writing more stories about your favorite characters. And you make up, maybe you put yourself in the story, or maybe you make up new characters. And that is a really great way, if you like to write, to kind of play around with writing, play around with somebody else's characters. And that's what I started doing. So I was writing fan fiction about Star Wars way before it ever became popular, way before any of you were born. But I didn't put it up on the internet because the internet wasn't even invented yet. I also love to draw. This is one of my drawings, probably from when I was about your age. I don't know if you can see it, but this snake man, that's my ex-boyfriend. Yeah. So a really good way to get out your anger when you're upset with someone is to draw a picture of them as a snake, okay? Just a little FYI. I used to keep diaries, and I would write about how mad I was about the people in my life who were bothering me. I'd put it in my diary, or I'd draw a picture of them. And I wouldn't show it to people. I'd just keep it to myself. And that was a great way to work out my anger. So I highly recommend keeping a diary. Don't post it on the internet, because somebody's just going to find it. It always happens. I will say I did keep a diary. My brothers did find it. They were pretty upset. So I figured out, you know what I was going to do? I was going to keep a second diary. One just for my brothers to find. We'll get back to that really quickly in a minute. So guess what? I got such bad grades in math that I couldn't get into any college, except the one that my dad taught at. Because they had to let me in because he taught there. So I went there, and it was awesome. And the first thing I did was I went to a party. You guys have heard about college, right? And have you heard about kids who go to parties at college? Yeah, don't do that. When you go to college, just stay in your room and study. Okay, you can go to one party. I went to this party, and I met a guy. And the guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, baby." He says, "What's your major?" Because major is what you're going to study, right? And I was like, "I don't know what my major is. I just got here. All I know is that I don't know how to do math, but I love to draw snake men, and I love to write stories about princesses. So maybe I'll major in creative writing or art." And the guy goes, "Listen, baby. Whatever you do, do not major in creative writing in college, especially Indiana University, because they will suck the love of writing out of you. I should know. I'm a creative writing major. They will make you hate writing." And I was like, "Oh, no. I don't want the love of creative writing sucked out of me." So I didn't take any writing classes in college because I was so scared of having the love of writing sucked out of me. And guess what? You have to take writing classes in college to graduate. So that guy gave me some very bad advice, because when it was graduation day and I was getting my diploma, my little diploma envelope was empty. I know. So I left college and I moved to New York City to be an artist, because I had majored in art. And I got to New York to be an artist, and there were no art jobs. Something they don't tell you in art school. So I got the only job I could, and it was working at NYU, which is another college. They needed people to help take care of all the kids, the freshmen, who were living in the dorms. And my job was to sit there every day, and when the kids didn't like their roommates, they would come down and complain to me about their roommates. "My roommate only eats vegetarian food, but I like meat. What am I going to do?" That was my job. But guess what happened? I met the guy again from that party. And he was like, "Hey, baby. What are you doing here?" And I married him. Because he was kind of cute, right? I I know. And he turned out to be kind of nice. And he goes, hey, whatever happened to all that writing you were doing? How come you're not doing the writing anymore? And I said, because you told me at that party not to major in creative writing. And he said, I was drunk. Why would you listen to me? So that's a moral to the story. Be careful when you're at parties. And that guy said, you need to sit down and start working on your stories again and stop listening to strangers at parties. And so I did. I started writing my stories again. And guess what happened? Can you see it? Rejected. I sent my stories off to New York City and they were rejected. But I wasn't going to give up because just one person says, your story's no good, you can't give up. So I sent more out. More got rejected. I wasn't going to give up. I thought of Princess Leia. She wouldn't give up, right? She just kept fighting the evil empire, so I sent out more stories. Rejected. Oh my gosh. I thought my world was ending. My biggest love of all, writing, was being rejected by the New York City publishing community. And it was right around that time that my husband gave me a speech. He said, look, honey, I'm not Tiger Woods. I said, well, actually, that's pretty good right now because he's been having some problems. No, I'm kidding. So no, he's like, I love to play golf. I love playing golf. But if everybody told me you're no good at playing golf, I would keep playing it. Just because everybody is telling you you're not good at something, if you love doing it, keep doing it. Who cares what all these people sending you letters are saying? Don't quit something that you love just because people are saying you're not good at it. If you love skateboarding and everybody around you is like, you're a terrible skateboarder, are you going to quit? No. Right. If you love, I don't know, what's something that you guys love? Exactly. Just because everybody tells you you're not good at it, if you love it, you truly love it, you're going to keep going. So I was like, I'm going to keep going. And this is where it gets really weird. Right after this, my mom called me because my dad had passed away. I know. He'd been dead for about a year. And my mom called and she said, honey, I have some really good news. I've started dating again, and the person that I'm dating is your teacher. Thank you, right? That is disgusting. You don't want your mom dating your teacher. I mean, no offense to any teachers here, but I have to see my mom making out with my teacher every time I go home for Christmas. You guys, you get it. That is the worst. I've seen my teacher's toenails. I've seen my teacher in his underwear. Right? So, you guys, what do you do when your mom is really happy, she's in love with this guy, and she's the happiest she's ever been, and you are so grossed out, you can't tell her, like you can't say, please stop dating my teacher because she's so happy. What do? You write it. You know what you do. You write it down. You write down your feelings because that helps get them out in a healthy way. And so I started writing about my mom and my teacher in my diary. And the more I wrote about my mom and my teacher in my diary, the better I felt, but also the more I thought, actually, this would make a funny story, like a story about a girl whose mom is dating her teacher, and she's so grossed out by it, but she can't tell anyone because it's actually a happy thing that these two people found love late in life. But it's disgusting. So I showed the story to all my friends, and I said, hey, what do you think? Do you think this would be a good story? And they said, no, it's very boring. Something else needs to happen. So I thought back to all the stories I'd written when I used to write that Star Wars fan fiction. And I said, you know what would be good? Is if that girl became a princess, in addition to having her mom date her teacher. So any of you who've seen the Princess Diaries movies, there's a lot of Princess Diaries movies, you guys see those movies and read the books and you think, oh, it's a story about a girl who becomes a princess. But really, to me, it's a story about a girl whose mom is dating her teacher. See? That's how you get ideas for how I get. All right. So after that, I got so many books published because that book just seemed to lead to all these other books. And now this is the book we're here to talk about today, which is the newest book called From the Notebooks of a Middle School Princess, because I don't know if you know, but Princess Mia Thermopolis has a little sister. Now in the movies of the books, Mia's dad dies, because in Disney movies, the dad always dies. That's just something that happened. No, they actually called me. You know, Whitney Houston produced the movies of the Princess Diaries, and she was awesome. But when Disney was making the movies, they called me and they said, hey, Meg, we have to kill the dad. Is that okay? I know he's a big character in the books, but he needs to die because we have this amazing actress that we want to play Mia's grandmother. And in order to give her a lot more lines, we need to kill the dad, and then we can give this actress all of the dead dad's lines. And I was still working at the dorm when this happened, and I was on the phone, and I was like, well, who's this actress? And they said, it's Julie Andrews. And I said, kill the dad. Because I really wanted Julie Andrews to be in the movie. So in the movie, Mia's dad is dead. In the books, he's still alive, and he has now had a little sister for Mia. So this is the new book, and it follows the adventures of a middle school girl who did not know she was a princess. Just like I used to wish that I was a princess in middle school, and that my real parents, the king and queen, would come and take me away. So I did not have to learn algebra anymore. You do kind of have to know algebra, though, so that's not a realistic thing to wish for. People are always like, where do you get your ideas? They don't come from here. There's no idea store. I wish there was. But the idea for the middle school princess books actually came from the idea of having an extended family of royalty who would come and secretly take you away. And that's why those DNA tests that you guys can do, like Ancestry.com and 23andMe, people are now taking those and finding out they really are related to, like, Queen Elizabeth and stuff like that. So that's actually something that could happen. I also got to illustrate this book. I finally used my art degree. My parents are so happy. I'm very proud myself. Now I'm going to tell you one short story about my diary. That is true. And we'll take some questions. I told you I kept a second diary to throw my brothers off. They kept sneaking in and reading my diary. So I started keeping a second diary that was filled with lies. And the lies were about how I was secretly a clone that had been sent down from aliens from another planet. And the real Meg Cabot was actually living on another galaxy with a very hot prince named Colin. Yeah, he's super hot. This is like 4th grade. So, you know, I realize it's a little cliched story. So my brothers, one day I came home, and my brothers were crying. And my mom was standing over them. And she said, Meg, please tell your brothers that you are not a clone and that the real you is not living on another planet. And I was like, oh my God, they read my fake diary. This is awesome. They believed it. That's when I knew I was a pretty good writer, like that they believed my fake diary. But also, what was so upsetting about that was that I got in trouble for keeping a fake diary. They didn't get in trouble for reading my fake diary. They snuck in my room and read my fake diary. There's no justice. Anyway, my advice is always keep a fake diary. All right, you guys. These are the books in the Middle School Princess series. The first book, Royal Wedding Disaster, the second book, and the new book, Royal Crush. We've got one more. I'm so excited because I was asked by the Star Wars estate to actually write a fan fiction. It's my dream come true. It's going to be in this book in October, and you guys can read it. All the money goes to charity, so you gotta wait till October. I can't tell you what it's about, but it's gonna be awesome. And finally, you get the only you get the sneak peek at the new cover for Princess Diaries from the Middle School Princess, book 4, called Royal Crown. And that is it. Thank you, you guys. You're such a good audience. And let me see. Do we have time for questions? We have time for a few questions. So who has a question that they would like to ask me? I saw your hand first, so you go ahead. Better be good. No pressure. You have to speak up. Do you want to say it in the mic? How do you write the book? Oh, that is a very good question. How do you write the actual book? So you don't, when I write the book, and I'm sure there's other people who write books here, when I write the book, I don't think of it as a book. I just do it one page at a time. So when I go to write, I'm going to finish this page, and then I'm going to finish this page. I envision it in my head like a movie. You know, when you watch a movie or a TV show, I have the whole story kind of planned out in my head. But then when I go to write it, I just write it one page at a time, and I don't put too much pressure on myself. So if you think of it that way, I'm just going to write this page, and then I'm going to write that page, and I'm going to write that page. It's a lot easier. And if you just write one page a day, you know, in 20 days, you're going to have 20 pages. And a book is usually only about 200 pages. So you'll have a book in 200 days. I know it sounds like a long time, but it's really not. Does that help? Picture it in your head and write it down. That's really all it is. You got to stick your butt in the chair, though. That's the hardest part. Who else has a question? Well, we have a question way in the back. You're going to have to shout it out. We got one back here. How many days does it take to make a book? It depends on how long the book is, but for Middle School Princess, it usually takes about 3 to 5 months to write the book. But then I also have to illustrate the book, so that takes another 3 or 4 months. And then from the time that I turn the book in, it takes a year for the publisher to actually publish it. So it takes a long time. And that's why, you know, it's a good idea to have another job because you don't get paid until the book actually comes out, usually. They give you a little startup money, but it's a tough, tough job. But it's fun, and it's worth it. Okay, who else has a question? Let's do one from this side. Okay, we'll do another one from the front row. Go ahead. How old was I when I moved to New York? I was 22 years old when I moved to New York, and I was 30 when I got my first book published. And it took about 4 years of rejection letters before I finally found a publisher and an agent. Agents are people who help you get your books published, and they're good people to have. They're like a lawyer, so they make sure the publisher's not kind of tricking you. Okay, let's do a question from over here, because we haven't done one yet. Sure. Right there. Front row. Yeah. You have a question?
How old are you now?
Hi. I always get that question. I'm old enough to know better than to answer that question. All right, no more questions from there now. All right, let's go over and ask. You guys want a question? I see so many of you in a row, so go ahead.
Why do you like reading and writing so much?
Why do I like reading and writing so much? I think because people in my family like to read and write so much, so I saw them doing it, and it just caught like a fever. But I have 2 brothers, and they didn't like it. So I think it was just, they like sports, and they would prefer to do that. However, now that they're older, they both like reading and writing. So it's just something, oh, I'm not going to go over there anymore. That it takes time sometimes to catch on, okay? So now we'll go back over here. You go over here, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna ask you.
Do you have any tips for writing?
Do I have any tips for writing? Yes, I do. If you want to be a writer, a good tip is to read books that you like. It doesn't have to be, you know, big, thick, classic books. It's just any kind of book that you enjoy. I love comic books and graphic novels and adventure stories and spy novels. So all books that you enjoy reading count as reading, I think. And then just try to write stories that you like. I think writing a story about something that you're mad about, like I was mad about my mom, or something that you really wish would happen, something you feel passionate about. That's a great way to write. And don't put too much pressure on yourself. You should be writing because you enjoy it. So I think that's really important. And another thing is that if you show your story to people and they don't like it, don't take that personally. Okay, who else has a question? Wow, there are a lot of people with questions. I didn't think anyone. Oh, well, let's take one from way up top. Go ahead, shout it down. That is a very good question. So the question is, how many rejections did I get? I have friends that are writers who got no rejections. And then I have friends who got years of rejections. So I got so many rejections that when I did school visits like this, I used to bring them to show people, and they were filled a whole entire U.S. Postal Service mail bag. And I would drag the mail bag in, and I would slam it on the table to show people that it's, you know, even a New York Times #1 best-selling author can get tons of rejections. But I actually had to stop doing that because it hurt my back to bring all my rejections. So I can't even count how many rejections I had. I mean, hundreds. So you just can't let rejections get you down. Just, and stop counting them because it's stupid. Don't worry about it if you get rejected. And I've had, the Princess Diaries was rejected 29 times. So a book that is now a universally beloved book was also rejected by a bunch of people. So it's just all subjective. Should we do another one from up there? Okay, go ahead. You gotta yell really, really loud. Would it be possible to draw a picture for me to do that? You might be surprised. Maybe later I will give you a sample of a picture that I drew. So let's wait and see. All right, now we haven't had one from the back over here. How about you in the red shirt? Let's see. Did I include other characters in my Star Wars story? In my fan fiction? Yes, I did. In fact, then I got scared that George Lucas was going to sue me. So I started changing their names when I found out that fan fiction, you can't publish it because he owns the rights to the characters. So I started changing them. But the one that's coming out in October has real Star Wars characters in it. That's the only one that I have. We have 8 minutes. All right, I'm gonna let you guys try again after the how old are you question. Let's see, there's two people way on this side. So white shirt and then blue shirt. Go ahead, white shirt. Hold on, I can't hear anything. When people are asking a question, let's try to be quiet so we can hear them. Because I'm too old. I can't hear anything. Yes? Were my brothers included in my books? Legally, I am not allowed to say. Because one of them is a police officer, and he might know. Yes, they're in my books. They're fictionalized, but yes. I have a series of books called Allie Finkel's Rules for Girls, and the two brothers in those books are based after my brothers. So if you ever see those in the library or whatever. And there's actually a character from the notebooks of a middle school princess named Rocky, and he is exactly based on one of my brothers. Okay, who else had their hand up? Yes? What is my favorite Princess Diaries book? My favorite one is from the notebooks of a middle school princess. So hopefully you will get to read that someday. Okay, I'm going to go in the back here. Who has a question in the back? You?
Have any of your movies turned into, have any of your books turned into a movie?
Yes, besides the Princess Diaries, I've had other books of mine be turned into movies. So I don't know if you guys, do you watch the Disney Channel? Anybody? Okay. So I have a movie on the Disney Channel called Avalon High. That's one of my books, Avalon High. And I have a TV series called Missing. That was based on a series of books of mine called Vanished. So you might have seen Missing, Avalon High, and I think that's it. Lots of my books have been optioned to be made into movies, but they haven't gotten made quite yet. Okay, I'm going to go over. I'm sorry I can't get to you guys. Look at this huge group of girls over here that all have questions. Oh, you have a question. Okay, what is it?
Which was your favorite book that you made?
What's my favorite book that I made? I just said that it's from the notebooks of a middle school princess, which I don't know, maybe you'll get to read. If you haven't read it already, there might be a chance that you'll get to read it. Okay, let's get over here with you guys. I see some glittery bows. Oh, I gotta go with the glittery bow. Okay.
Have any of your writers been blocked?
Say that again?
Have any of your writers been blocked?
Oh, have I ever had writer's block? Yes. So writer's block is a thing that you can get if you really want to write, but for some reason you can't get the words out. And that happens all the time to writers. And so when I get that, I go on a bike ride, or I go on a walk, or I just watch TV, and hopefully it'll go away. But yeah, that happens a lot. Let's see what else. How about a question from somebody just sitting right in front of me so I don't have to walk very far? Okay.
What texture do you use? What texture do you use? What texture do you use?
What text did I use? Say it one more time.
Let's discuss it. Texture.
Oh, for painting. What was my favorite kind of painting to do? I used drawing pencils and just black and white ink for the... I didn't really have painting because I was really bad at it. I didn't do so well at that yet.
Do you have any kids or pets?
Oh, a very good question. No, I do not have kids. I have 13 nieces and nephews. So I just steal their lives and put them in the book. Yes.
Well, how did you learn to draw?
How did I learn to draw? I majored in drawing in college. All right, are we ready for the big surprise? It might not be time. I'm not saying there is one.
Thank y'all so much for coming. Can we give Meg a big round of applause? Thank you. I personally have been reading Meg's books since I was y'all's age, and it's pretty fun. So, today, as a special treat for y'all coming out, we wanted to give y'all the opportunity to read one of Meg's books. So as you leave, y'all will be receiving the first book. It's from the Notebooks of a Middle School Princess.